Welcome to the Shergroup podcast, where we share ideas on how to help businesses grow and prosper in the online world. Join host, Chief Shergroup Claire Sambrook as she discusses her digital journey and how Shergroup is helping thousands to keep their business flowing and growing. Here on the Shergroup podcast.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa, which is part of our World Credit Congress series, in which we are interviewing our fabulous speakers for our event in Orlando in fall of 2024. And today I'm delighted to introduce my buddy Jason Hiland, who's going to be talking about his platform and product, CollaborationRoom.ai. But before we get into the interview, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of people. So first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to my nephew, Ross Saunders, who is in Norwich, England, UK today. So, hey, Ross, hope you're doing well. I think Jason wants to say hi to you.
Yeah, absolutely, Ross. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. I've heard great things about you, my friend.
And I would also like to give a shout out to Jason's, I think it's your nephew or your wife's nephew, which is a lovely name, Sawyer. So, hey, Sawyer, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day.
We love that.
Okay. All right. So special people in our lives. So we're going to start. Now, you and I met in Chicago last year, and I was walking around the ACA International Exhibition. I saw your product, and I, it was perfect for what I needed for Shergroup. But I was also blown away by your presentation and your enthusiasm for your product. So without further ado, the question I want to ask you is, who is Jason Hiland?
Wow. That's a good question. Sometimes I like to think about that myself, to be honest with you. Well, Jason Hiland, first and foremost, is a husband. He's a fur baby daddy. I've got some dogs laying around here and a cat over there.
Okay.
Yeah, my office is like Dr. Doolittle's office on any given day in here. I'm an Indiana kid who now lives in the desert out in Phoenix. I've always had a passion in my career for technology. That's really been where I've been focused, is on the technology side of contact center life. Yeah. I'd love to tell everybody on this that's watching this that, from a young age, I could not wait to work in the contact center world. But I'm most other people. We didn't know about it, and we just kind of found our way there. I had graduated college with degrees in economics and accounting. I went for my first job interview at a large accounting firm in Indianapolis, and they took me into this like dimly lit room. Like there was a bunch of people sitting around typing away, and they're like, "This is where you're going to work in the corporate tax." And I said, I've got to figure out something else. So I ended up in technology, working with contact centers, and I have a blast. I love the blue collar nature of this environment. I really do. And I learn something from people every time I talk to them. So yeah, Jason Hiland's just a guy who sells technology and enjoys camping. Just got back from Montana and hiking and all the fun stuff.
Yeah. I think you said you took Sawyer with you to Montana?
Yeah, he was up there. Sawyer was up there. My wife's whole family. We spent a week in a combination of Yellowstone Park, where we did one of those under canvas adventures where you stay in like large tents.
Yeah.
And then we drove up to Kalispell, Montana, and spent a few days up there at Glacier National Park. And it's just beautiful. It's a great reminder. I live in, a large city, and sometimes you can forget about the beauty that is still out there and the untouched part of nature. Yeah. And so I came back on Sunday, and I feel kind of recharged. So
recharged. That's a great way to be. It is.
So
you're recharged. what's your favorite quote in life? I mean, what do you kind of use to get you through everything?
I'm a big quote person. And,
Okay.
but if I had to say my favorite, and I want to actually bring it up because it's kind of long and I don't want to mess it up because there might be fans of this person out there and I don't want to misquote this, but I have
Okay.
my own way of saying it essentially. But not, the quote is Hunter S. Thompson.
Right.
And it is more, let me bring it up here. It says, life's journey is not to arrive safely at the grave in a well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, totally worn out, shouting, "Holy, what a ride." And I try to live my life by that a little bit. I like adventurous things.
Yeah.
And I like my job to be different every day. And that's what I love about my job now is I might wake up in the morning and I'm talking to somebody from India, and I
Yeah.
might end my day talking to somebody from the Philippines, and then everywhere else in the middle. I like camping in wilderness. I skydived this year. I hiked Machu Picchu last September on the Inca Trail. So I like adventure and I like to shake it up. And I've got a wife who I'll say condones it. She's not on board for everything I try to do, but yeah, that's it. Is I just want to have as an exciting life as I can, and I was talking to my wife's parents, and I said they were talking about inheritance, and I was like, you guys should let the last check bounce. Don't worry about everybody. Just spend it all and have some fun. So that's me. That's my favorite quote, and I felt bad that I had to read it, but like I said, I know some people take that stuff very seriously, and I
Yeah.
did not want to miss a word.
Well, you're skidding along,
Yes.
ready to, end up in the right place at the right time, but not yet. So yeah, good
Not
for
yet,
you.
not yet. I
Not
got
yet.
many years. I got lots of skidding to do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can see
Yes.
that with the skydiving. Um, so from skydiving to ending up working in the contact center space.
Yeah.
How did you end up in this role? Which I have to say, you're the most interesting contact center space person I've ever met. I've met a
Uh, you
lot.
know, yeah, and thank you. 'Cause I'd rather be that than Jason. You're just like everybody else.
No, you're definitely not.
So, I'd worked in the contact center space mainly with first and third party collection agencies for starting right after college in the early 2000s, and then I worked for some enterprise software technology, a company called Ontario System, which is now Finbuy, which is one of the larger collection platforms in the industry, or the largest. And then I worked for a company called BillingTree that offered payment processing and websites. I worked there for about 11 years. And during the course of that, one of my clients was a contact center that they got purchased. So they no longer exist, but they were ACT convergent out of the Northwest. And so when BillingTree sold, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I grew up, Claire. I wasn't. So I actually took a year off and I spent some time working with my wife in real estate and kind of helping her bring technology to her real estate business. And then I got a call from an old client. His name was Samir Manny. And he said, look, Jason, the contact center I was the CIO at was sold. I don't want to work for this large company that bought us. I had been, working on this work from home technology when the pandemic hit a few years ago. And now I'm going to, I've decided to make this what I do.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need a sales guy.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, Samir, my wife and I said one year, this was like in August of 22. I said, I'm going to give it a few more months and then I'll give you a call back. So I called him back. I said, I am going to come back to work in technology. And I said, let's take a look at this platform. And honestly, he was like fifth on my list of companies I was going to work for. And we scheduled a half-hour call. It lasted a little over 2 hours. And I walked out into the kitchen after that, and my wife was there. And she said, I think I found my job. And she's like, well, I thought you had like 4 or 5 more meetings. I was like, yeah, I just canceled them all. I know what I want to do because I've been in positions where you're selling technology and it can become commoditized, and it's no
Yeah.
fun to sell, well, honestly, a boring product that you have
Yeah.
no passion for.
Yeah.
And this product, with the work from home movement and all what he showed me, and some of the clients that were using it that I knew that I talked to, I was sold by the end of that call. I couldn't
Mm.
wait to get involved in this because it is so unique. And every single time I show it to somebody, they're like, "Wow, I didn't even know something like this existed."
Yeah.
And so it's my job to make sure that fewer and fewer people can say that from now on.
Sure. And really it works anywhere in the world, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it is a
that's that.
truly global product.
Well, this work from home world is now global.
Yeah.
Everybody went through it during the pandemic, and then you know, some people have tried to bring agents back in. That's been very difficult for their recruitment and retention. And some people have kind of gone hybrid, and some people have gone, still fully remote. And what we designed it for those remote agents, but what we've found is it really is kind of that one floor for every environment, because we've all kind of faced this, after the pandemic, we faced this monster of going from 98% of all agents worldwide on the floor. Now, you were one of the, pioneers of remote agents.
Yeah.
But most people, 98% were on a floor, to everybody at home. And then now we've got like this whole mixture in a lot of these contact centers.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult for people to solve for that new monster. Like, how do I manage all these different people? And what I love about it is, that monster creates, of all these new environments, creates uncertainty, frustration, confusion, not only for the contact centers and their agents and their supervisors, but for their clients, for regulators, for consumers. So everybody is kind of like, that's very sensitive data there.
Yeah.
And we want everybody to be productive and engaged and secure and compliant. So it has just been it's just a fun ride, helping people finally see something that they're like, oh my gosh, we really can do this. We're not lost. And we can really have everybody on a floor when maybe it's not a physical floor, it's a virtual floor.
Yeah. I saw it. It was the answer to my dream that a product like that existed. And I think it could help a lot of people. So in terms of how does Collaboration Room AI provide the value for the contact center industry?
Yeah, well, like I said, it really becomes that universal floor, no matter what environment your agents and supervisors are in. And the 4 areas we probably affect the most are: 1, engagement, making sure that supervisors and agents can engage with each other in real time, like they were on the floor. Now, one of the differences between us and well, they can IM and they can private. Well, what we do is imagine when everybody was on the floor, a supervisor sitting at their desk, they could look out across the floor and they could see everything and they could hear everything. Well, then we moved people to these remote environments, and we really took away what supervisors used as their number one tool, which is their eyes. I mean, we as human beings perceive 80% of the world around us in a second by second situation through our eyes.
Yeah.
Well, now you're a supervisor and you're really don't have that ability. Well, with our platform, imagine you're a supervisor, you're sitting at your desk, you got a cup of coffee in the morning, you sit down, you turn on your monitor, and there you see all of your team. You see their video, you see their monitors. And then, we're not a company that we don't want to be a monitoring platform. So like I said, we want to be that engagement. So we turn it around and the agents can see their supervisors real time, and they can communicate, they can chat. The supervisors can give real-time coaching just like they could when they were on the floor. We have meeting and training rooms you can move people in and out of for meetings and one-on-ones. So we really just that's a big piece. That's the foundation, is that engagement. And then what we've seen is productivity goes way up. Again, number one, just not even based on some of the tools in there, just on being able to engage and know that their supervisor is there with them.
Yeah.
Security and compliance is big because, well, look, whenever I was on the floor, everything was safe and secure, cameras all around, and, supervisors saw everything. They didn't have to worry about some random person walking in off the street, and they didn't have to worry about these things too much.
Nope.
You could see.
Yeah.
Well, it's very easy for organizations to secure data between a remote server and an agent's desktop. That's not hard. We've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
The problem becomes here in this home office, knowing who is accessing or looking at my data.
Yeah.
So we have some AI components in there that will, the agents can have a virtual background like you have, or a blurred background. We want them to have the privacy when they're working at home. But the AI would be able to alert the supervisor if, say, for instance, somebody came over and did a little shoulder surfing, a boyfriend, a husband, a roommate. It'll let them know that there's multiple people in that room. And then if we've trained the AI, if it sees one of these go through the video, it'll let the supervisor know, hey, there's a cell phone there. So what we're doing is we're giving those supervisors an opportunity in real time to have a conversation with the folks about the policies and procedures about working from home. And what that's done from a value perspective, obviously it makes the leadership of the contact center more confident in allowing people to work from home, which is what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes, if it's a BPO or a collection agency, it makes their clients more confident.
Absolutely.
And that's the key. Because,
that's why I think it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. It's given those, and soon to be the regulators, like just, I don't know, a month ago, I did a presentation for 30 members of the Consumer Financial Protection Board here in the US, which is kind of like that judge, jury, and executioner of financial institutions. And, they are big fans of work from home, but they're also really big fans of making sure consumers' financial data is safe and secure.
Yeah.
And they took a look at it. We got great feedback from them on it. So yeah, we add value. Like if I get on a call and say to somebody, like, what's most important to you? Is it productivity, security, compliance, training and coaching, or engagement? If there's 4 people on that call from that company, I'll usually get 4 different answers. Yeah. So that's what we do, is we bring it all together, and we don't make people have to put what I call Mr. Potato Head together. Like, I need a platform for that piece and a platform for this piece. It's just all right there in one package.
Yeah. I think it's I think it's game changing in terms of this whole genie out of the bottle of working from home, or working, remotely,
Absolutely.
which, and it's no surprise to me that people don't want to go back to offices. So I think this product gives us a solution to the obvious concerns. And how cool is that you're demonstrating? What was the name of that board again? That you just repeat that?
Oh, board? They call it, the acronym is CFPB, but it's the Consumer Financial Protection Board, which here in the US is, they're kind of like the, end all be all of the protection of consumer financial.
Yeah,
it was great. I mean, I usually don't get too nervous for presentations. I've done so many, but I'll admit that one right there, when you log in and you've got 30 members of that organization sitting in front of you, man, I was a little stressed out, but it went really, really well. And, going back to what you said a second ago about, agents, you understand why they don't want to come back. And that's a really kind of an important thing. Because, I've talked to a lot of contact centers who've tried to bring them back, and it has not gone well. No. Retention and recruitment have really, really suffered. But look, we see these return to office mandates in the news, these large companies and such. Well, it's one thing to say to somebody who's making $100,000 or more, hey, you got to come back into the office, because they can't walk out on the street or go online that night and have another job the next day making that same revenue.
Yeah.
A contact center agent, on the other hand, is extremely mobile. They can go on and look, sort for contact center jobs and put in a criteria of being remote. And they've got hundreds of options and probably making the same. And they've shown that they'll actually take a little less to work from home because, like here in the US, the average cost for any employee to go from working at home to back into the office is $5,280 a year.
Yeah.
Not that big of a deal if you're making $100,000-$200,000 a year. You're making $30,000 to $40,000 a year. That is a huge piece of the financial pie. So yeah, absolutely. I totally understand why they wouldn't work from home. And the cat's out of the bag and they're not coming back.
No. I just think it's fantastic for working parents, or for working adult carers, people that are looking after adult parents or disabled child or young children. They've suddenly got, if they can get a job that this platform enables them to do, then they've got flexibility, but they also want to earn money. So it just frees people up.
That is one of the items that hit home the most when I had my very first conversation with Samira. I grew up with a very young mother. Some people get a pony for their 16th birthday. My mother got me. And she was a single mom for most of my life. And she had to take jobs out of the house because back in the 70s, no remote jobs like that. And she had to choose between, being home with her kids or being at work. Yeah. And now in this new environment, I've talked to so many people that they don't have to make that choice anymore between being at home with their kids and or their, aging parent or whoever that might be. Yeah. And some people say, well, I'm not paying my employees to take care of the kids. Look, they don't want their kids sitting in their lap all day as much as anybody else does, but
no, you missed the point.
Yeah, but the thing is, the parent is at home, and the kid might be out there playing on their iPad, watching TV, what have you. And if something goes wrong, they can just walk out there. Hey, I got to take a little time. I got to walk out here, or at lunch or breaks, just go out there and check on your kids and spend a little time with them. I mean, that is an invaluable thing that most people throughout history haven't had that option to do. And
let me ask you that, because I think that's really important from a practical point of view. How does Collaboration AI handle that in its, obviously it's in its setup, but let's say I'm going to be a grandma soon, so I'm going to have a baby maybe in the house, and I want to go and check on the baby. And I was working from home. How does Collaboration AI sort of handle that in terms of, okay, the agent has got up and gone from their desk and then comes back? How does it compute that?
There's a lot of community. Yeah, we have communication capabilities within the platform. There's chat, and then there's private calling, so they can make a quick call to their supervisor. Hey, I got to do this. Now, from a supervisor's perspective, they don't want people, just like when they're on the floor, they don't want just people getting up, walking away when they're on, unless they're on a break or lunch. Yeah. So the AI allows alerts to the supervisor, not only if there's multiple people in the camera, or when it sees a cell phone, but it'll also let the supervisor know when there's no one in the camera. Yeah. So they have, again, an opportunity to have a conversation. Hey, what, you weren't on break or lunch? Oh, yeah. I had to go check on it. Well, I understand that. Let me know if you've got to do something like that. Yeah. Just like we were on the floor, if you need to take a, walk away on a time when you're not on break or lunch or whatever, you'd let your supervisor know. But right now, the supervisors have no idea what's going on. It's kind of the Wild West out there. And I mean, I'm not saying every agent is taking advantage of it, but it doesn't take many agents taking advantage of it to start really messing with your workforce management. Yeah. No, I think it's a dialogue between the employee and the employer, or the employee and the manager. And the better relationship you have, then this is just going to help
facilitate that communication.
One of the coolest things is it's not just about supervising the agents. What our agents will tell us is because, again, the supervisor sees everybody on the team in their room, but the agents see the supervisor on their side. And what they say is, I finally get to supervise my supervisor. Because for the last 4 years, when I've needed my supervisor, it just seems like they're not always there. And so it puts that supervision on both sides. And what happens is people start to respond and act like they did when they were on the floor.
Sure. Yeah,
because there's accountability on both sides.
Accountability, I was going to say, that's the really overriding thing I'm getting from this, that everybody's suddenly accountable and there's visibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is absolutely outstanding. So so you've got this cool platform, you went to work for this guy, you're now guiding policy officials on how this technology can be deployed in contact centers to protect consumers. Very cool, very, very cool. What is your favorite thing about working with contact centers?
I think it's the diversity of people.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I might start my morning at 6 a.m. here in Arizona, talking to somebody in Europe or Asia, India, Africa, and then I kind of follow the sun, and then I'm talking to some people from the US, and then maybe somebody in, LATAM, South or Central America, Canada, all the way over to my evenings might be talking to somebody in Australia or the Philippines. And I love learning about, one, how different companies are doing certain things. Everybody will say all contact centers are all the same. They are not all the same. And I learned something new from every single one of them. But it's the diversity of the people in different countries that I get to. Now, I don't speak any of their language. I love the fact, I appreciate that they learn English, because I'm one of those Americans that cannot speak their language. But that's what I love. I love the diversity of this industry.
Yes. And that again is a huge game changer in terms of, we talk about globalization and what that means, but your product platform is enabling that globalization to actually work in so many ways.
One of the things that some of our clients are doing, if they have multiple offices throughout, or used to have multiple offices, but they have multiple locations throughout the US. Maybe they have agents in the Philippines or South Africa or India. Well, before, when everybody was on the floor, they had to group all of those people geographically together on a team for the most part. But what we're seeing now is we've broken down all those barriers. So they've got a project. They go, all right, what are the best supervisors and agents for this project? Well, we've got 3 of them over in India, 2 here in South Africa, 5 of them over here in the Philippines. Just put them in one room together on our platform.
Yeah.
Now they're all in there together. They're learning about each other. So we're breaking down barriers and borders, and it just becomes about, being a team.
Yeah. I have to say that's how my team work. We just hang as an international team. We don't really think about ourselves where we are on the planet. We just all hang together in one kind of environment.
And I love that. It's like one big melting pot on our platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is, again, I'm so glad that you're coming to Congress to talk about this and meet people and they'll be able to really, some people want to get into it with you in terms of how this platform could be deployed. So the platform itself is using AI. You said it can spot the mobile phone, it can spot people in the background. What do you think is the role of AI for contact centers in the future? We're just at the start, aren't we?
We are. Some people like to ask the question, like, I hear it a lot at conferences, is AI going to replace agents.
Mm.
And you got some people say absolutely not. You got some people say, it's just going to augment. They'll take care of the easy stuff. The agents will be there for the hard stuff. And then there's people out there like, yeah, the agents will be gone. Now, in my career working in contact centers, I've probably seen the demise of the agent 5 times. When dialers first came out, we won't need hardly any agents now because we're not manually dialing. When websites came out for those, especially for collection agents, they're like, the websites and the IVRs will take care of all the payments. We won't need agents anymore. And then, AI starts to evolve and such like that. Here's my thoughts on what it will only grow. I think it will help augment agents and a lot of platforms out there focus on augmenting the agents. We do a little bit of that, but we also try to augment and help the supervisors, as we've talked about. I like to refer to, I'm a big metaphor analogy person. I always forget if it's a metaphor or an analogy, but
whatever.
When somebody asks me like, hey, what do you think AI is going to do to the number of agents? And I look back in history and I say, well, let's talk about the tractor. When they first introduced the tractor, people probably thought, no more farm workers. Farm working is done. We got these tractors that can do all of this stuff. Well, it did change the number needed and it took care of some tasks, but here we are 100 years later and still got a lot of farm workers out there.
Yeah.
And they will always be needed. Now, some of those people transition from farm working to maybe building tires for the tractors, building engines for the tractors. Yeah. So some jobs did shift. But at the end of the day, if you ask any farmer in the U.S., they wouldn't know what to do if they didn't have their farm workers.
Yeah.
But they also wouldn't know what to do if they didn't have their tractors. So I think they both will be important going forward.
Yeah.
I really do. I think they will be complementary. I don't think one eliminates the other.
No. And I think there's always a need for the human ingenuity, which I think people underestimate the power of our brains. Up here, we have all the AI. We have to have a very big computer to replicate this.
And the emotion. That's AI. Eventually they'll get there, but being able to hear what emotion and adjust your tone and adjust your questioning and show empathy. That is something that's going to take AI a little while to nail down.
Yeah, I agree. So I think human ingenuity is irreplaceable. And AI will carry, as technology has taken up the tough, the kind of the hard work, but AI, but human ingenuity and empathy will reign supreme.
So now 100 years from now, you can ask me that question again. I might have a different answer. But for the next 10 years, I think agents and everybody's going to be okay. 100 years from now, who knows what AI will be able to do? I just hope we're around to find out.
Yeah. Well, I hope we'll be on Mars. And, an AI will be...
probably will be by then.
And then everybody can kind of shove all the AI up there because there's no oxygen and they can go, well, it can do all the jobs on Mars that humans can't do unless they have a spacesuit on. So let's just put it all up there.
Though I will say, if they give me an opportunity to go to Mars, going. Remember, skidding sideways. I'll go up there and run the computer. I'll run the AI up there with it.
Yeah, I can believe that. So, Elon, if you're watching, Elon, here's a candidate right here.
Yeah, he'll probably be there with me.
So if you had one piece of advice for contact centers leaders who obviously you're engaging with and they're listening to this interview, what would you say to them if they were listening today?
That's a great question. If somebody was out there listening today, I would say that I know change is hard. When the pandemic happened and everybody went to work from home, everybody believed in their heart of hearts, a couple months, a year, everybody would be back. And I know that the leadership is used to having certain aspects of control and engagement and stuff like that. But I would say that embrace this change. There is an entire ecosystem of technology that is developing around the remote environment that has become so prevalent.
Yeah.
And so I would say embrace it, because there's a lot of benefits in it for the company. I mean, think about all the money that can be saved on these lease and land. Think about being able to recruit the best agents from anywhere in the world to work on the projects that would be best for them. I think some people are a little caught up in the way things used to be, and they hope we go back. But I mean, think about what you've seen in your life. How often do we go back?
No, we're not going back.
No, we're not. And technology is now being developed to help us go forward. So I would say embrace the change, don't resist it, and listen to your people on what they want. Because at the end of the day, to have a contact center, you need great people, and and this is a people business.
Yeah.
No matter how much AI is getting involved, it's still a people business. And so, embrace the change and listen to your people, and respond accordingly. That would be my advice. Yeah,
I agree. And get these young, smart things, these young, smart people to help you build AI into your processes, and and process your data and process your outcomes. I think that's the role of leadership now, rather than just saying you need to be in the office at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, is your butt in that seat at the office at 9 o'clock?
Don't be a dinosaur.
Yeah, that's and I know change is hard, but we'll get there.
But we had our butts kicked in the pandemic, and that was a wake-up call, I think. And so if we could survive that, we can survive anything. So that's a great canter through the world of the changing landscape of contact centers. But if you weren't working, I want to ask you this question, and you're not skydiving, and money was no object. That's a nice one. What would you be doing?
If money was no object, because in order for me to do this, money would have to absolutely be no object. I would love to run a pet sanctuary, an animal sanctuary.
Okay.
I love animals. I love dogs. I love cats. I love all animals. I just, up in Montana for vacation, we got to see buffalo, like thousands of buffalo, and just not too many years ago, they were almost gone.
Right.
And they're beautiful animals. So I would love to save all the fur babies, and just my job to be go out every day and feed and play and enjoy. That would be it. I would love to run an animal sanctuary, and who knows? You never know. Maybe in my future, if money is not an object, or if I just can somehow make enough, we're going to see an animal sanctuary here in Phoenix or somewhere, and that I'll be running.
Well, that's a surprising answer. I don't know what I was expecting, whether you were going to go scuba diving off somewhere, or
I like to keep people on their toes. I like to, again, I've got a lot of interests, but no, that's not to say that I won't, wouldn't take some time to go have some fun. And on any given day, that would be a very difficult job, running an animal sanctuary. There's probably some really tough decisions that have to be made at times, but I think it would be extremely rewarding.
Very laudable. Very laudable. And seeing what you said about your dogs and your other animals, I can relate to that in terms of that would work for you. So maybe, who knows, in the future.
Who knows?
If you want to make Jason's dream come true, buy Collaboration AI.
Buy a lot of licenses, and you could be responsible for me taking care of all the animals.
Yes, exactly right. What a lovely outcome. So, okay. Well, Jason, it's a pleasure getting to know you. You've got such an interesting backstory, and I'm still very jealous of that wallpaper behind you. I love that. That was your wife's choice, I think.
Yeah, it was my wife's idea. I didn't like it at first, but man, it's grown on me, as everybody's told me what great taste she's got. So
yeah, kudos to her. Kudos to her. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Congress in October. I'm encouraging you to put your team, your product in for a Global Credit Award. Anyone listening today, do that. And any of your contemporaries in the credit industry that you know, these Global Credit Awards will give a lot of kudos to anyone that gets them, and hope they'll be all over LinkedIn with people showing them off.
Wow.
So they're beautiful statues, something akin to an Oscar. So I hope that you will.
I'd love an Oscar. I'd love an Oscar too. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, they're going to be the Oscars of the credit industry. So I'm looking forward to seeing you potentially, although of course I can't say because I'm sort of connected to the judging panel, but I would love to see people enter. So thank you, Jason. Thanks for your support on the Congress, and we look forward to seeing you in October. For everybody else, I hope you've enjoyed this interview today. Jason's website is at CollaborationRoom.ai, and you can connect with him on LinkedIn. You'll find him under Jason Hiland. That's Hiland. All of this will be in the show notes to this interview. So just to wrap up, thank you for staying with us through this interview and this episode of Shergroup on the Sofa. What a pleasure it is in my role as host of the Congress to get to meet people like Jason and get to widen my horizons. As a host, the official website of the Congress is worldcreditcongress.com. Shergroup is at shergroup.com, and you can see us in all our glory with the Shergroupies on that website. And like Jason, we have all our socials, Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. You know it. Just put either of our names into Google and we'll come up with all of our relevant links. So thank you so much, Jason. Again, a pleasure, absolute pleasure. And until next week, everyone, it's bye from us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Claire. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Sharegroupie podcast. To join our Sharegroupie community, subscribe by going to our website at www.sharegroup.com. Keep up with the latest Sharegroup news across all our main channels, including YouTube, LinkedIn, and across all social media. Stay connected and begin building more business relationships.